Welcome. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. My name is Lamar Ellis, and I'm pleased to be able to bring you this Drone Education Services webinar. This is part one of a three-part series on aerial inspections for real estate. Today, we are going to be talking about the types, uses, and trends for real estate aerial inspections. I wanted to develop this webinar to promote aerial inspections and aviation safety and to also give you an understanding of the multiple business opportunities in real estate that exist. As our motto says, we are opening minds to drone technology. Wouldn't it be nice that after your next flight, not only did you have fun, but you're able to take the data that you got and use it in multiple businesses for real estate? This has been a real team effort putting together, and I'd like to thank David Ballard for helping me as my executive producer to string all this technical stuff together. I also want to thank the video contributors over the years, such as Flyworks, that's Roman Mola, Third Eye Aerial Media, that's Jonathan La Liberty, and of course, Southeast Drone, Kelsey Norris. Without their video contributions, we wouldn't have this webinar today. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my unmanned teaching assistant, Uda. So, Uda, take it away.
Thanks, Lamar. Hi, I'm Uda. It stands for Unmanned Teaching Assistant. I'm here to go over some general housekeeping rules for the webinar. Today I'll be asking polling questions throughout to introduce some different topics. Get involved and make your selections so that we can go ahead and share those with you. Use the question and answer tab at the bottom of the Zoom taskbar to ask your questions for Lamar. We'll have a Q&A session near the end of the seminar. We'll also have a post-webinar survey popping up afterwards in your browser. Please be sure to fill it out. Your feedback really helps us understand what it is that's really important to you. And that's a fact. But now it's time for a disclaimer. Operating a drone is serious business. Be sure to follow all federal, state, and local rules when flying. This webinar does not certify you to be able to operate an unmanned vehicle. Now to you, Lamar.
Thank you, Uda. Again, my name's Lamar Ellis, and I'm a real estate appraiser and a real estate valuation expert. I hold both the MAI and SRA designations with the Appraisal Institute. I've got my Part 107 remote pilot certificate with the FAA, and I have flown numerous projects over the last 6 years. Well, as an appraiser, I'm educated and informed on market value, and I do this through discovery, analysis, and reporting. But in 2014, my life changed. It was in 2014 that I realized that drones were changing the way real estate was going to be viewed. My typical day started with going to a property and taking pictures of the front and the back of the house and looking at the street. I would also measure the outside of the house and taking exterior measurements. And then I would walk through the house taking measurements and looking at the quality and condition of the rooms. Well, it was all ground based. And then I discovered drones. Now, this is a project that I spent 10 months filming, and it was called 500 Flights and Counting. And what it was I filmed a house that was raised, the house that I just walked through, to the building of a multi-million dollar home. It was a great time learning about drones. Now, I know operational, environmental, and even just jurisdictional rules governing drones. But when you do a multiple project over a 10-month period, you sure do run into a lot of things such as rain, wind, birds, helicopters, and a variety of other items such as people all over the job site. Well, as you can see, I saw this to completion and it was worth it. I'm sharing this on the website, 500 Flights and Counting. So, without further ado, let's move in and learn about drones. Well, our timeline, our goals and objectives today are going to be what is a drone? And then we're going to learn about the drone market. Next, we're going to follow it up with types and uses of drones. And then we're going to take all that knowledge and apply it to real estate. And then we're going to close it out with the future. So, for our first polling question today, let's go to Uda.
Thanks, Lamar. It's time for a poll question, folks. Glad to see so many people interested in how to use drone technologies. Here's an easy one for you. Let's see how many of you either own a drone, have flown a drone, or been able to use a drone in some way in your business. Take a second and select any and all that would apply to you on the pop-up on your screen, and then I'll total them up.
Thank you, Uda. That's an excellent question. Take some time and answer it. We're going to give you 10 seconds to answer these questions, and then I'm going to pull up the results. Don't want to waste too much of your time waiting to answer questions. So let's see those results. See, a lot of you have flown drones. That's awesome. And I also see a few of you own them, and I see some of them you are actually using drones for business. Now, you need to have a Part 107 remote pilot certificate. We're not going to be covering this today in this webinar, but check out webinar number 2 on rules and regulations, where we'll go over how to become a certified pilot. Well, thank you, Uda. What is a drone? A drone is an unmanned vehicle. It can operate in the 4 environments of water, land, air, and space. The impact has been described as being similar to when automobiles hit the road for the first time. Now there's so many different types of operations, but typically it's either remote controlled or they're pre-programmed. The term drone was enacted in 1935 by Rear Admiral William Stanley. Now, he was observing the British military using remote piloted planes for gunnery practice. Now, those remote pilot planes were based off the DH-82B, which was nicknamed the Queen Bee. And he said, look at all those drones flying, and the term has stuck. A drone is not operated by a human being on or inside the vehicle. It can access a variety of different environments, and it can keep human beings safe on the ground. The technology is there so that it can identify its things in its surroundings. Now, it's amazing to me that the chess champion of the world was beaten by a computer that was situated in a building. Now, they still can't do all the same kind of calculations that the human mind can do, but they're learning. And as they're learning, the drones are getting better. And like I said, they're able to go into environments that we can't see. Check out this. There's a drone in a Walmart. It's cleaning the floors, but what that drone will do is that if it senses somebody in front of it, it will stop and wait for them to move until it moves on. So drones are already in everyday society. I bet you can think of some drones that you've seen, like the Roomba that cleans your floors. I mean, it is amazing where drones are going. So why drones? Well, for me, it's aerial inspections. They're practical. And the number one use of drones has been photography. And one of the top industries taking advantage of drones is real estate. Why? Because it gives you access. You can get that thing in the air. It's amazing. And why? What does that do for you? Well, it's easy to use, but it allows you to inspect and see things from angles that you couldn't see before. And then there's relative safety because you don't have to climb over roofs or go over rough terrain to visualize the entire property. And it's cost savings. My drone alone uses lithium batteries, which are charged with electricity. Take a look at this building. That building is curved to the setbacks of the street. I didn't know it from the ground base, but I could see it from up above because drones can give or accent details that you can't see from ground-based photography. They also can show more of a property. And as you can see, we're flying over this property, and look, that's the equipment. That's relatively inexpensive, and it contributes to a safe working environment. The FAA's got a website, and FAA backslash UAS will get you to unmanned aerial systems. UAS stands for Unmanned Aerial Systems. It's an acronym. They like to put the controller and the antenna and the batteries and the drone all together because that's what makes it work. Now the last set of numbers came out on March 10th, 2020. On March 11th, that's when they declared the worldwide pandemic. So we haven't gotten any new numbers since then. But at that time, there were 1.5 million drones registered in the United States. And of that 1.5 million, 441,000 of those were commercial drone registrations. And of that, there were 171,000 pilots. Now, me, I own two drones. So the statistics match up to me perfectly. Been in the business now since 2014, at least in the remote pilot business. And one of the things that I can say is that the initial predictions have been wrong. Even as late as 2017, they estimated that by 2020, we'd have over 7 million small drones in the U.S. airspace. But as you can see, we only have 1.5 million drones registered today.
Okay, here's another polling question for you. Which of the following drone companies do you recognize? DJI, Unique, Intel, GoPro, Parrot, or Autel? Just select any you've heard about.
Excellent question, Uda. Take some time again and check off your answers. Now, if you don't have an answer, don't worry about it. We didn't put in non-applicable on this. So by not answering, we'll know that you don't have anything to say. But let's take a look at those results. Wow, a lot of you have heard of DJI. Well, that's not surprising because in 2013, DJI was the first to bring out a commercial drone that you could use for inspection. Why? It's a small platform and they put a gyro stabilized camera on it that could take video and photographs from different angles that were smooth flowing. Most of the drones prior to 2013 had fixed cameras, so there were stability issues out there, and the photographs and videos were really quite shaky. And look at 2020, DJI has 76.8% of the drone market. That is tremendous. Now, people are trying to knock them down, but it's been real difficult to do that because DJI has been introducing superior products at lower cost. And it's made entry into the drone market a lot easier for just regular consumers. So let's take a look at some DJI drones. That's the S900. That's a platform drone. That is my Mavic Pro. Now I use that on my 500 flights and counting. Next, you've got the Inspire. Now that's Roman Mola flying around a windsock. That is an extremely difficult maneuver right there. But you also have your little toy drones like the Extreme, and you've got drones that you can build at home in kits, getting the motors, batteries, and controllers. My very first drone happened to be this one, the Hubsan. Didn't have any kind of stability. You had to learn it on your own. And my first commercial drone was the Parrot AR 2.0. That had a fixed camera, really shaky, the footage that I could pull off of that. But the Inspire is the drone of today. And you can actually use a dual operating system. One person operates the camera, one person flies the drone. Now, drones can fly in a variety of environments from hot to cold, and they can access areas that you normally can't see from the ground. So it is just a tremendous asset. And their ease of use and the ability to get into the air is just something that to marvel at if you have never seen one fly. So what kind of system are you going to require? Well, there are things to consider. Now, I've got 6 things listed here, but the one thing on this list that I really want you to take a look at is data. Because one of the misconceptions is that your clients are going to pay you to fly a drone. And that is such a misconception. They're paying you for the data you're going to be able to get off the drone. So, what I recommend is that you find what your clients are needing data wise, and then you make everything else fit into it, such as, is it easy to use? Is it easy to set up? Is it reliable? Can it handle multiple missions? And as far as airtime, can it stay in the air long enough for you to acquire the data you're looking for? Now, my Mavic Pro can stay in the air for 27 minutes. However, I'll only keep it up for 17 to 18 minutes just because I don't want it to run out of battery juice and fall out of the sky. This was a mock-up I did at Bobby Jones Golf Course, and I used my unique Q500 drone. Now, I set up a landing and takeoff zone because it's grass, and I've got skids under the unique Q500. I didn't want it to get caught in the grass. I then set up a perimeter around that so because I wanted to warn people not to come in there. You always want to keep yourself safe. Now, as you can see, not only am I bringing the drone case out, but I'm also bringing out my toolbox. And my toolbox is a tackle box. And it's got little compartments in it that I can stick my SD cards, my cables, and anything else that I need to use with my drone. Now, the Q500 is a little bit of a bulky drone. It's one of the more older models. But I like it because, take a look. Here is the battery. That battery fits in the rear compartment. And I liked it because I could showcase the propellers. My Mavic Pro has got propellers that are kind of attached. You stick them in and they attach themselves. This, you had to screw the propellers in. If you run into a propeller that's got a nick or a chip or is worn beyond its capability, don't use it. But look how easy it was. Once I'm up in the air, how long do you think it would have taken me to climb a ladder and get on top of that roof? And look at the views that I'm able to see. Drones are a tremendous asset for real estate.
It's polling question time again. What types of properties would you fly for your real estate business? Would it be commercial properties, industrial, residential, or agricultural properties? On this one, select all that would apply.
Thank you, Uda. Well, as an appraiser, I've got multiple opportunities to get up there, but what do y'all think? Okay, look at those results. I really think everybody's starting to see that there's so many capabilities out there. For commercial drones, there's retail and office. For industrial, you've got distribution, storage, and manufacturing. For residential, you've got multifamily, single family, suburban, urban, and even rural properties. And then you've got your agricultural properties. Well, I like to include ranches and large farms on those too. So it looks like a lot of y'all see the opportunities out there. So how do you choose that drone? Well, think about it as environments and your needs. Now, a fixed wing drone is shaped like an airplane. It's got a singular motor in the front, and the wingspan helps it to glide. So, what does that do? It allows that drone to stay in the air longer because when it's in the air, the motors don't have to work as hard, so it's not draining the battery as much. But I like to use a multi rotor because I live in the city of Atlanta. It's an urban environment where the properties are a little bit more compact and tighter. And a multi-rotor can take off and land in tighter spaces and it can hover. And I can do things like closer in inspections, such as looking at gutters. Now, the VTOL is the drone of the future, according to Elon Musk, and I have to agree with him there. It stands for vertical takeoff and landing. What it can do is take off and land like a multi-rotor and then fly like a fixed wing. Now you're going to see these with the passenger drones out there, and you'll probably see these with big freight drones. Actually, UPS is starting to adopt these drones to deliver packages, and they're testing them with medical deliveries in North Carolina and Florida. So, what drone is going to be the most efficient for you? Well, different platforms require different training. And this is where I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a experience warning. Let's say that you're out in a rural area. Well, rural areas, you've got heights of trees, maybe silos, maybe telephone poles. Yeah, that's the biggest obstacle you're going to have in a rural area. And you might have larger pieces of acreage. So flying a fixed wing would be the way to go in that rural area. Now, a multi-rotor is going to fly in an urban environment where you need to land and take off in a tighter space. You also will probably need to hover. So in an urban environment, your properties are on smaller parcels of land than in rural. But here's where the warning comes in. If you're flying a fixed wing in a rural environment, you might be challenged in an urban environment because a fixed wing has got the ability to fly and glide, and it covers a lot of property in a short period of time. May not be good for the antennas in the buildings, in the trees, in the power lines that are in the city. Whereas in the rural areas, a multi-rotor might not be efficient. Why? Because it's large acreage tracts and you've got one battery using on multiple rotors. So the batteries have a tendency to wear out faster. Now, how do I know this? Did a test on 100 acres. And within that 100 acres, we were able to fly it with a fixed wing all the way through on one singular battery. But when we took our multi-rotor out there, it took 5 batteries. And you also have to be careful that your batteries could be pre-programmed to go back to where it left, or you can start from where you left off. There's a lot of redundancy in those features. Now the VTOL is going to be the drone of the future. They just haven't brought it down to the small commercial level for use that is cost effective for me right now. So let me introduce you to some properties and why drones are so effective. Well, you've got construction in process. We're actually able to see how a building or new construction is done. Roof inspections, you've got moisture detection and heat loss. You've got forestry, how many trees can be harvested. You've got agriculture. You've got crop management. What is the health of the crops out there? Then you've got irrigation equipment monitoring. Are all those sprinkler heads working? Photogrammetry orthomosaics. You can see sizes and shapes, and you can get the amounts of piles of coverage in there. Tracking cattle. How many cattle do you have? And if you lose one, can you track it? Thermal imaging. Traffic monitoring. Ingress and egress to properties. What about right-of-way inspections? I can fly over that creek. Wind turbine inspections. One of the most dangerous inspections out there. Cell tower inspections. They have to be inspected twice a year or after a major disaster. Bridge inspections. You've got 1 out of every 4 bridges needs to be repaired. Marina inspections. How many slips are being rented? What's the quality and conditions of the roofs out there? Use of thermal imaging for search and rescue. How about railway inspections? Determining if there's anything on the tracks that might impede the train. And then, of course, the old pull away shot. Now, I put this in just to give you an example of being 200 yards away from the drone and how much could be seen from the air. Well, real estate was one of the early adopters of the technology. Now, it really is important that you know your market so you can provide more. It allows you access, ease of use, the ability to inspect things that you can't from the ground. It kind of gives you a level of safety and it's a reduced cost of doing it. So real estate has really taken advantage of this aerial inspections.
All right, folks, it's time for another question. What crossover real estate businesses do you think would be able to use drone services? Would it be appraisers, marketing, insurance, architecture, tax assessment, builders and developers, attorneys, or property managers? You can select all that would apply in this one. And let's see what everybody thinks.
All right. All right. Take your time and check all that you think that would apply to using a drone for aerial inspections in real estate. Uda, let's see those results. Oh my gosh. I I'm already getting through to you guys. You're starting to see that every one of those could have aerial inspections benefit them. Well, let's go through those individually and see what we got. I'm a real estate appraiser. It has increased my expertise. And I got to tell you, it's not a tool for every property, but if I can use it, it is a great tool to give a unique view, aerial access, and I can identify points of interest. And I also have the time of day or the date of inspection on the property. I'm stuck. Oh, I know. In panic mode. Thank you, Uda. Technology still eludes me too. All right. And I've got real time data. So, does the property conform to the other properties in the area? Where is it located? Is there any new construction in the area? Is the amenities of school, shopping, and employment? How do I get there? And once I'm there, how do I access that property? Can I make a three-dimensional model? Or can I make a two-dimensional orthomosaic? Do I need any kind of specialized equipment, such as thermal imaging? Those are all the things you need to consider as an appraiser. Well, marketing. Of course, marketing. Agents and brokers were one of the very first adopters of it, really before appraisers even got hold of it. There are so many marketing opportunities. It allows agents and brokers to showcase the features, and they can develop a personal connection with their audience by showing this. The great thing is that now we have the technology of YouTube and Vimeo and services like that that we can rebroadcast those images in your home or office. So you never have to leave. The thing that MLS came out with was that MLS showed that most people, at least up to 90%, will get online and look at properties before they'll actually visit the site. So therefore, marketing with aerial photographs really does help, and it provides unique content for marketing. So here we are, we're back on Captiva, and what I did was I showed you the outer areas, and then I went in and put in a script of identifying what the property was and what it had. Now, everybody's got their own taste. You could put in beautiful music. You could put your logo in the corner. You can add identifying features to what's there at the property. But the beauty of it is that you're identifying a property from the air, which allows people to see far more where it's situated on the lot. Now, let's just say I wanted a beach house, but didn't want to be on the water. Well, this house probably would be negated right off the bat. But let's look at it this way. Let's just say I bought a brand new boat. Got a dock out there right outside my door, and I can take my boat out for a spin anytime I want. So as you can see, aerial photographs and videos really do develop that personal connection with a piece of property. We'll give you a little word of warning, Ro. MLS will not allow you to put your logo in the bottom corner of your videos when you put them on their sites. So just be aware. Insurance. What's covered? Well, insurance is concerned with three things: the date of inspection, the existence of the improvements, and then the condition of the property or the condition of the improvements. It helps, that is a baseline assessment, which helps them identify coverage. And if there's any damage, it can expedite damage claims, which means you've got your assessments are expedited. Here we have some flood damage. Now, floods occur all over the United States, and we were able to take our drone up. This really wasn't for insurance purposes at the time because we were concerned with the subdivision in the top corner. It looked like it was going to start flooding out there. But you can see that the water was flooding, and if there's any damage, we can identify that it was flood damage. Fire damage. Now, one thing I will recommend to you is that if there are any emergency response units in the area, you can't take the drone up. Not unless you're working with the fire department or police department or whoever the emergency response units are. Why? Because there's been issues where they've been fighting fires, and if there's a drone that is unauthorized in the sky, they've got to pull out operations. Here is Seattle. It got hit with a tornado. And now we're able to assess the damage to the buildings and we can expedite those claims really quickly. And here, we've got to expedite the claim on this. The carriage house didn't get hit in the back, but you can see that we've got power lines down. We've got trees down. And we want to assess what's been damaged and how bad it's been damaged. But one of the ways, using an aerial drone. Look at it. I can see that a couple of cars got hit in the driveway. Well, now we've got a damage assessment and we can expedite those claims. And no longer are you going to have to walk the property over those power lines and over those trees to view it. Tax assessment. Well, we want to identify value. And tax assessors are being reduced because of salary concerns. And so offices do not have the amount of tax assessors they used to, but they still want to get those tax rolls up. Now, what's a great way of doing it? Aerial photography. They used to use satellites, but satellites might be 6 years off on what they've done. And hiring helicopters can get quite pricey. A drone can cover a lot of territory, it's less intrusive, and it can reduce cost. And it can reduce the amount of litigation that the tax assessor has to go through because no longer is somebody going to be able to argue something that if the tax assessor couldn't get behind their fence and see their brand new pool, the drone sure could. What about for property managers? Tax assessment property managers. Here is a warehouse district that we set up a 4 waypoint flight, and we actually were able to capture everything in that little grouping. We could see the buildings, we could see the parking lots, we could see the surrounding homes in the area. We could see if there were any improvements that were added to those properties. We got a chance to see the roof conditions. We got a chance to see if there was any leakage on the roofs. We got a chance to see if there was any standing or water on the roofs. The advantages for property managers are tremendous. Look at those air conditioning units up there. They haven't been properly vented, and now they're leaking on the roof, and now that white roof is being damaged because of the water standing on it. As you can see, drones give a different perspective view. And am I already starting to convince you? Look, we've already gone through appraising, marketing, insurance, tax assessing, property management. What else could there be? How about how about architecture? We're gonna future design. It's rebuild, remodel, or redesign. It is a tremendous. This has got to be my favorite because I actually see this coming, and I'm actually going to point out a few things to you in just a second of where I'm starting to see it. Well, you've got to be able to support the technology, and you've got to have the space to support it. The great thing is the historical data. We just filmed Bobby Jones Golf Course prior to its complete renovation. Now, what the renovation that occurred is that they took down the trees and they leveled out the hills. Now, why is this so important? It was a historical site. It was a famous battle in Atlanta during the Civil War. It was the Battle of Peachtree Creek. And we were able to get historical data that can be used by the Historical Museum of what the property looked like at least in 1920, right when the golf course was built. It also helps contribute to a green community. Now I bet you're wondering how, so let's get there and show you. Here we are. We're in Midtown Atlanta looking at downtown Atlanta, and if you're thinking green, so are we. Now it's not just aerial. Because aerial, you're going to have the support facilities like antennas, charging stations, or even the ability to have delivery of packages to you. The one thing you're probably not considering are the unmanned automobiles that will one day be occupying our city streets. Already know some teenagers that have never ever gotten their driver's license and they take Uber and Lyft everywhere they go. It's actually a little bit more cost effective in the city environment. So there is no need to have an automobile down there unless you're going to be taking longer trips outside into the suburbs or the rural areas. I have seen buildings already designing their parking lots flat with ramps going up to the next levels. Why? Because one day those buildings are planned to be repurposed and those ramps are going to be changed into stairwells, elevators, and storage units inside the buildings. Think outside the box. We looked at everything that was going on, at least with land based units. That will probably have more of an impact than the aerial for the downtown environments. What about owners and investors? Well, I've taught all over the United States, and one of the places that I found one of the more unique, we're talking to appraisers up in South Dakota and Wyoming. Why? Because they told me when they walked into houses, they would see pictures of the houses that were shot by crop dusters. And what the crop duster would do is he would shoot the house and he would send the homeowner a little tiny print and say, "Look, I've got this. Would you like to purchase it?" And believe it or not, a lot of people are so proud of their property they would like to have the ability to showcase it and show it off to all their friends. It gives a unique perspective. It certifies the date, it showcases the feature, and it also can provide some legal protection. We already talked about insurance. If you've got a barn on that piece of property and that barn gets blown down, well, how does the insurance agent know what it looked like and how it looked and what date it was there? You'll have that baseline photograph. So here is a proud property owner in Highlands, North Carolina. This was a tremendous look at the shot. This looks like a regular base shot, but here's where drones come in. You can't do this by standing on the ground. I didn't see a ladder up against that house. Drones give the ability to have access to places very, very quickly. Now, this house was a tough shoot. Why was it a tough shoot? Just look around. Common sense tells you that there's a problem. Yep, that problem's trees. There were trees everywhere. And as a matter of fact, we couldn't get to the back of this home to film it. The homeowner was so proud of it. The homeowner wanted to see how that house was situated on the property lines. Also wanted to showcase some of the great features around where you could go canoeing and fishing at Mirror Lake just down the street. Also wanted to showcase where they would do their shopping. That's downtown Highlands, North Carolina, one of the prettiest towns in America. It has all the amenities for somebody at that property within a 2 mile drive. All right, here's another early adopter: builders and developers. The scope of work. Priorities are met, problems are identified, liabilities are reduced. You can actually predict the time of completion. It is a tremendous asset for builders and developers. And I've actually worked on a few projects. You saw the 500 flights and counting that I showed you. Well, that was for my own personal benefit. But I actually have got colleagues that are doing some of the downtown buildings in Atlanta. And what the builders and developers want to do is they want to see how that property is being developed. So you've got everything from the framing of a house. Now, there's a lot of framers there, but here's the safety feature. Are they operating those cranes properly as they're taking in the boards to be installed on the side of the hotel? How far has that building been constructed? Look at that. I've got proof now that the guy has put flashing up under the roofing tiles. Did they move dirt to the right location? That's going to be the brand new Brave Stadium. Just wait, we got another shot coming up in a second of it under construction. This was a developer. We did multiple shots on it as he was building the subdivision. And he wanted to showcase it in his portfolio package. Brand new grocery store is going to go there. And there we go. There's the Brave Stadium under construction. Finally, we have attorneys. Litigation. Well, nobody wants to be sitting on the court stand, but wouldn't it be nice if you were sitting on the court stand with data that was real-time data that was shot at the date of your inspection that proved the existence of the improvements and also the condition of the improvements. It gives unique insights, high value data, and reduced acquisition cost. And it enhances your credibility. Most people are used to watching TV and movies these days, and being able to bring that into the courtroom really develops a personal connection with properties. So, as you can see, we've gone over 9 different aspects of being able to use drone technology for real estate. Now, that's one single flight can encompass appraising, marketing, insurance, tax assessment, owners, future building and development, and the worst case scenario, any kind of litigation. Here was a property with my that I shot with my Faraday AR. Now I told you it was a little shaky, fixed camera. I was worried about that tree limb, but should have been more concerned about all that standing water in the roof. And my client sure was. Made the roof get changed. Railways, they're using them to make sure that the workers are working on the rail tracks with the proper equipment. Thermal imaging. Well, search and rescue has taken full advantage of that because people get lost in the woods and you can actually find them in cold temperatures. And the ease of use of these drones is just tremendous. They can get to places quickly. I want to assess, are the workers doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are the roofing tiles placed where they need to be placed? Are they strapped in so that if any damage were to occur, they wouldn't be sued because they weren't tied in? I use pre-programs. I pre-programmed this flight so that I didn't go over the interstate. I look at it to see the amenities of an area, how you access in and out of a piece of property. And then I actually use it for some fun because flying a drone can be fun. Not only is it flying off fishing piers, but it's looking at the boats that are docked in the harbor. As you can see, there's a wide range of things for drone technology. All you have to do is just look for it. So, I hope today that I've convinced you that there is a huge market for drones and it's coming. The future is here. It is upon us now. All you have to do is look around and you can see some of the drone technology that's being used today.
Okay, here we go. You know what time it is. This question: do you think you'll see drones used for aerial inspections? Yes, no, or maybe?
Now take a second because this one is really important to me. Uda, let's throw up those results. Oh my gosh, thank you guys. I think I've convinced you that using drones is going to be something that real estate is going to do. I know it's there, it's in the market right now. All you have to do is look out for it. Business models are being created every day. So, in conclusion, I think it's important to understand aerial technology. Whether you use it or not, you'll know what it can be used for. And that can open up opportunities and investment. It can also satisfy your curiosity needs as to know understanding what's up in the air and why you're seeing it. The trick is think outside the box because I guarantee you other people are that are adopting this technology. I really want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. This was an amazing opportunity, and I sure hope I have shown you what a drone is, the drone market, the types and uses of drones, and how it's applied to real estate. And then drones are here. They're here to stay. So thank you so very much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. Bye bye.
Uh,
Didn't know.
Okay.